Hey everybody, welcome to All About the Game. My name is Todd Blyleven, and as you can see, my co-host Mike Micucci is not with us today. I brought on a special guest, Nelson Gord. Nelson is the director of baseball with NCSA. He runs an Illinois travel baseball club, and he's the new head coach at Harper College. So Nelson was a player, played at University of Chicago, Illinois, a great program under those amazing coaches there, and has run travel teams, as I just mentioned, along with college coach, high school coach, and he's done a lot with NCSA over the years, and he's going to talk to us about recruiting. I think it'll just be a really educational show and being able to get in the mindset of Nelson Gord. So without any further delay, let's get this show started. Hey, welcome back to All About the Game. My name is Todd Blyleven, and as we know, Mike had to leave us. He's got to go do some coaching today, but I'm joined by Nelson Gord with NCSA, and welcome to the show, Nelson.
Thanks, Todd. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, one of the things that we've been talking about over the weeks, with being a parent myself with Dylan, and I think it's always probably a year-long conversation is recruiting, and putting your son or your daughter in the best position to be able to be seen by college coaches. You got all the showcase organizations and tournaments, and you're traveling the country, and there's always the fear factor. We talked about it, when we had Cade Griffiths on, the owner of DBAT, and just the pressure that parents feel sometimes to travel the country, to bring your kid to an event, to hopefully be seen by college coaches and get recruited. I mean, that's the end goal. We want our kids to be happy. And if they want to go play college baseball or football, we want to put them in the best position. But with COVID and everything that's really shut the country down, I thought it'd be great, you and I got a chance to meet through our relationship with Pocket Radar, and things that you guys are doing up there. And I thought it would just be neat to have you on. You've got an interesting story too about, you're playing and you run travel teams up north, and then you're, obviously dealing with NCSA. So I wanted to give you the floor, and let's talk about Nelson. Like, give us a little bit of background on where you grew up, your playing career, how you got into coaching, which I think is really cool, and then how you ended up at NCSA.
Sure. Yes, I grew up right in the same community that I still live in, northwest suburbs of Chicago, in Arlington Heights, Buffalo Grove. Went to Buffalo Grove High School. Actually was, not really recruited, at least for baseball, coming out of high school. I wouldn't say more of a football player. It's just football is a little bit easier of a process because, the coaches come into the schools. It's during the fall. I think organically there's a lot more exposure opportunities, and the way the coaches function are a little bit different. But my passion was always baseball. And, you come to senior year, I ended up being our conference player of the year in a conference that had like 5 guys drafted, about 20 guys went on to play Division I. So to be the conference player of the year like that, and
Wow.
on paper it says that I'm going to play Division III football. Raise some eyebrows, and even my own. I'm like, what the heck's going on here? There's got to be some opportunity out there. So it was after my senior year of high school, I started writing to schools, and I sent out some VHS tapes of
Wow.
some camp stuff and some hitting stuff, and said, hey, I think I could play Division I baseball. It worked out great for me that University of Illinois Chicago, UIC,
Yeah.
as a new coaching staff, Mike D, Sean McDermott, who are still there to this day. It was their first full recruiting class. They had both come from, Mike was the pitching coach up in Minnesota, and Sean was at the Turbo Division III school, now NAIA, as a head coach. So the time was right where, they had a roster spot for me. So I went there as a non-scholarship player, ended up redshirting, and you fast forward, was an all-conference player for them. Wanted to continue playing beyond then, and kind of similar to the high school to college story, wasn't drafted, wasn't signed with a major league organization, but played 4 years independent ball. I did sign one free agent contract with the Astros in the middle there, so I had a chance to spend the spring with them, and then hopped right into coaching. Even when I was playing, I was always giving lessons on the side and working at facilities. So when it came time to get married and move on with an actual career, I bought a facility, started a travel program, found quickly that my passion was on the recruiting side. NCSA is headquartered in Chicago, so I simply hopped in my car, drove down there, and met with the founder of the company, Chris Kraus, and
Yeah.
that was about 7 years ago. And it's really a powerful thing, and it's given us a lot of reach and helped a ton of players. So I love what I do, and I get to kind of see all ends of it. Leading up to, I don't even know if we've had this conversation since we talked last, but I'm now the head coach at Harper College right here.
Wow.
So
Congratulations.
yeah, so took a JUCO head job in my district. So it's the two big things in my life. The two commonalities is, serve my community and stay involved in the game. And, those two go hand in hand with this opportunity.
It's so interesting. You listen to your path and your journey. I mean, number one, going back, you were a high school football player that played baseball, and you realize, like, hey, I'm pretty good at this. And then to have UIC, take that risk on you after seeing your gameplay and stuff, and go to a school like University of Illinois Chicago. I mean, those coaches are awesome. They do such a great job there. That field, the facilities are amazing. It's right there in Chicago, so like you can't get better than that, with the food and the pizza and everything. But
Yep.
it's really cool. And then like most players, when you're done playing, at some point, what do? You either go into coaching, or that was my route too. I went into, always gave lessons during the off season. Got into scouting when I was done. I went through about a year of not knowing what I wanted to do, so I worked all kinds of different jobs.
Sure.
Ran an indoor training facility, the same path, but passion was always helping players develop and giving them the opportunity to then play and have that experience like what you and I had.
Yeah.
To go put a uniform on and play beyond college at some capacity, and keep pushing forward. So really cool journey, and how you've kept with it, and now congratulations on your head coaching job, which has got to be fun to be a head coach.
Yeah. So, I was at Notre Dame High School or Notre Dame College Prep as the head coach there for 6 years. And when I stepped down, a lot of it is I've always been a public school kid, growing up, so it was a little bit different. But I struggled with working with 70 players, right? Like I wanted to serve the entire program, and it's just not feasible.
Yeah.
So looking at a college opportunity like this, where we're going to carry, somewhere between 25 and maybe 32 players. We might bring in as many as 40, 45 in the fall. You just get to be a little bit more hands-on and see everything and really kind of manage that development timeline, where you don't get that luxury in high school. You get a condensed, depending on where you're at, you get a condensed 3 months to pack everything into, and it's tough. It's really tough, depending on the type of program that you're running.
Yeah. And so how, you know, with COVID, really shutting us all down this past March. And I know, Dylan was playing, I think they were in their second league game here in North Texas. I think they had 16, 17 preseason games as far as, just kind of your tournament play and stuff. And then the world just got shut down. So when you think about just baseball in particular, and really where my mind goes is, Dylan was a class 2022, so he's a sophomore this year playing varsity. Even though things were going great, he still has a couple more years to play high school baseball and get that experience. Hopefully we can get a grip on all this stuff. But, the seniors that lost that opportunity to really go out and shine, those late bloomers that senior year like yourself that maybe, had a great senior year that could go write a college coach and say, hey, I'm pretty good, check me out. There's a place for those guys, as you know. But then also the class 2021 kids that really, this was the most important year, in my opinion, that junior year where you're now becoming kind of this man child on the field. You've lifted, your body's gone through some different changes. You're able to hit the ball out maybe. Now you're ready to impress, and then boom, it stopped. So I know that the dead period's been extended to August 1st. I thought maybe if you could talk to us a little bit, talk to the parents of maybe those youth players, the upcoming freshmen, sophomores in high school, those juniors now, and then what can those seniors be doing too to maybe, stay in the game, find a place. I know there's a lot of emphasis on digital media now, sending videos. But what is NCSA's guidance? And it's just a great program. I love NCSA. So maybe talk to us about those three players.
Yeah, well, I think the thing is just because certain things have stopped doesn't mean that you have to. And the same messaging that we've used for 20 years now continues to hold true. So with or without the current conditions, like being proactive, doing your homework, reaching out to schools, putting together, you said about the digital media, putting together your skills video or highlight tape, depending on the sport. Those are things that are just necessary. And I think a lot of guys in the past or a lot of families could invest a significant amount of time and money traveling around and hoping that the stars align and you're in the right place at the right time. But it's a lot easier than that. I think that's what people are starting to recognize is it's not dissimilar to any other industry, right? I think a lot of big businesses are realizing like, hey, we don't need 100,000 square foot, office space when our employees can do it from the comfort of their own living room. The same thing is true in recruiting. Like it's a lot easier for coaches to sit over a cup of coffee and look at players' transcripts and look at their video and then have a more informed plan on who to go out and see or who to follow up with or what coaches to call than it is for them to hop in a car and drive 7.5 hours to see some kid throw 3 innings, against some questionable competition, right? So I think it really streamlines it. And I think that's my advice, and that's our advice for any of these families is, double down on what is available rather than be concerned about, what's being limited as far as what the colleges are or are not able to do.
So, that's such great advice on being able to, really understand that today's technology has entered the college coaches platform. How does someone get involved with NCSA and kind of what are those first steps, and then the expectations right away? I know, a lot of parents, they might think just because I'm part of this program, you guys are going to get me, all these offers and everything else. There's development. I mean, how does NCSA kind of hold your hand through that process? If you can kind of talk a little bit about that.
Well, it really, it's like bowling with bumpers. I'll put it that way, where you just have a little bit more direct path. You can't go astray if you're following, what it's prompting you to do. So by no means is NCSA going to do it for you, nor should you think that your travel coach or your high school coach or your pitching or hitting coach, that they're going to do it for you either. It's a combination of all those parties. And then you sprinkle I shouldn't even say sprinkle, you put the power booster of technology behind it, and things happen a lot quicker, things go in the right direction, and you just know about a lot more. I also liken it to, I think parents want to order off a menu, right? But the reality is you got to go fishing, or you got to go hunting in order to put the food on your plate. And the wider, net that you cast, the more success that you're going to have. You can't call it luck if you're investing the time, because you've created those opportunities. And I think that's really what it does, is that it opens a lot of people's eyes to things that they didn't even know existed. And once they start looking into those and pursuing those, they realize, like, hey, this really is a good fit. This is a high quality of competition. This is a great school that has my major, and it starts to connect all those dots for them.
And, one of the things I really like about NCSA, I had a chance to visit your office, or I think it was your former office there in Chicago, and sit with Chris when I was with, I think it was United Sports Brands back in the day. And we were talking about forming an alliance in terms of some of your football stuff. But, the great part about NCSA is it's not just baseball focused. I mean, you guys deal with all sports, which I think gives all of your reps an opportunity to really learn about multiple athletes, multiple difficulties in the recruiting process year long. So there's just probably a wealth of knowledge, not just specific to baseball, that people can bring into different personalities and fits for college programs. But I really love the Match Fit program that you guys have. Can you talk a little bit more about how that process works? Like, how does it work where, my son Dylan gets involved with NCSA? Is there a profile form, personality stuff? How do you match Dylan to like really good schools that fit him personality and even gameplay?
Sure. So, I think one of the conceptions is that to be involved with NCSA, that you need to invest a lot of money. The tools that we have available for free, are dynamite. I encourage every family that I talk to, every team that I talk to, like, dig around in there, start peeling back the layers. It is a profile that you put together, but it's dynamic, right? So it's always asking you for more information. It's always prompting you to take some action. And the more that you interact with the system, the more the AI, the more the algorithms are fed, so that it matches you up with the different schools that, are going to recruit a player like yourself, right? So it takes into account their recruiting history, their current roster status, what their coaches' trends are. We've partnered with some other companies that add even more data into that. So really, it's not a guarantee. It's not saying that, hey, you're going to go to this school, but it's saying, hey, if this is above a 70-75%, maybe you should just send out a feeler. If this is above 80-90%, maybe you should pick up the phone and call, because there are 500,000 high school baseball players out there that are vying for those coveted, 53,000 roster spots. So the numbers are in your favor. It's over 10%, whereas most sports are in that 6 to 7% range. So baseball does have a higher success rate. But still, you want to make sure that you're in the right place and not just having this narrow focus and left to be disappointed.
Yeah, and it's such a great point with just being proactive, and you almost, as a parent, you're always marketing your kids, right? I mean, you market them anyways when you're talking, you put them up on Facebook, and my daughter got up on point shoes on Friday, and so of course, proud daddy's got to, that's a big thing, So
that's a big thing. My daughter's a dancer as well, so I'm all too familiar with it.
Yeah, so you got to post the pictures, and so it's constant marketing. Dylan hit a home run a couple weeks ago and went 8 for 9 and did all these great things at the plate, and just absolutely went off to open up the new season down here, tournament play. But of course, you got to market that, so you push those videos out. But I think the one thing that people, you hit it right on the head. People think that you got to spend a lot of money to help your kids find that great school, and what's the value there. And there's programs like NCSA that I think you guys just do and have done a really great job in helping athletes find those schools.
I think in anything that you're trying to accomplish in any business, it's a matter of pulling as much information together as possible. And like we talked, I run a travel program, so I understand the value in tournament play, and I work with a number of different showcase companies, so there is definite reasons to attend those, but they're all fleeting, right? You have a bad weekend and you punch out a couple times and your timing's off, and that's the time school X was out there to see you. Not that they're going to write you off, but you didn't capitalize on that opportunity. Whereas if you put together a profile and you have all your clips together and you have your grades in one place, it paints a lot clearer picture of you as an entire person, rather than just that blip in time where they might pass a judgment either way.
I think, that's, you brought up your travel ball organization, and what's the name of it?
Illinois Indians.
Yeah. So Illinois Indians, I mean, you talk about just the players that are in your travel system, or players that you've coached or mentored and now going, being a college coach. All those players have the ability to connect with you, and you have the network and the ability to connect with all the other coaches. And that's what I love about sports, especially baseball, because I could talk to the baseball point of it, but we are so connected, and it's in our nature to help people, especially the players, find homes, promote players to our friends that are college coaches or whatever. So what's your biggest advice to I know the seniors are scrambling right now, that, former seniors, there's some players that are still trying to find homes, but what's your biggest advice to the juniors, the class 21 kids that are working hard right now, gearing up for really the August 1 date when college coaches can get out there and see them play? It really sounds like more they should be taking video and being very proactive with colleges to get to that point, so college coaches can then decide if they're, which players are going to go see come August 1st. Should that be the same route too for the younger players?
Yeah, I mean, the same steps are going to be necessary, and make it habitual, right? I don't think anything really changes. I think that not any different from going out and taking a test. If you wait to the last minute and you try to rush to get all this stuff done, the quality is not going to be there. It's going to feel a little bit awkward or uncomfortable. So we start our program, or at least the portion of the program that I started and run, is just the high school guys. So when we get them in there at 14, like immediately we start introducing them to the showcase format and to how to film the skills video. So we have so much footage, and we can also see the development occur over that time, that it becomes second nature to them. So I would say that for the younger parent, or for the families of younger athletes, like, expose them to that. And you can do that at the high school or the grade school down the street from your house, right? You don't need to pay a huge amount to go to a showcase right now. If you have the resources, that's fine. I mean, I would say that, but don't make yourself crazy about it. And then as you go through it, the same thing with the communication end. Depending on the division level, they can't always call you back or communicate in those ways, but have that build up, where have them talk to a junior college coach like myself. I'm a Division III junior college coach. It's the bottom of the totem pole as far as the hierarchy of college baseball. But I also have no restrictions. I could talk to anybody at any age, at any point in time. And if they're comfortable talking to me, then when Tim Corbin calls up, or Mike D or Sean McDermott, they're going to be prepared for that, and they'll be comfortable with it, and they'll be ready to rock.
Yeah, that's awesome. The Cade Griffiths, we had him on, the owner of DBAT, a few shows ago. And one of the conversations that came up was, recruiting and the players that he's seen come through the DBAT program, just with his travel ball teams, but also, I mean, they have 100 buildings across the country, and now he just launched their 100th. But he brought up something that I've never really. You talk about trying to find the best college for you, your personality. You mentioned, a lot of these key points you should be looking for. Programs like NCSA that can hold your hand and help you identify those. But he mentioned something that I thought was really cool. He said, try to undersign. And I've never really, the way he described it was really unique and just very simple. His journey, he was a switch hitting catcher. He had offers everywhere, and he found his home at Dallas Baptist University at DBU. And the reason he ended up at DBU was it was a good program back then, obviously, but it was a program he can go in and he can play at. He was going to have fun there playing baseball, because that's what all baseball players like to do. He didn't want to sit the bench for a while. So his viewpoint on undersigning was, I thought, really key, where not every player can go to UCLA or Vandy, Florida State's. There's tons of schools out there that have great coaches. I mean, look at yourself, a guy that's been in, multiple sports, been in baseball, had success, knows everything about recruiting and all these different things on top of the game of baseball. And you're sitting there, you're not at Vandy, you're not at Duke, but the value that someone could learn from someone like yourself and play and get better is it's awesome. So I love the undersigned message to today's athlete.
And it's true now more than ever, here with the draft being shortened, both this year and in subsequent years. We don't know if it's going to fall in that 10 to 20 range in 2021, 2022 and beyond. But you're going to have 1,000 top players that were not drafted this year that are going to be in college baseball next year. So there's only 10,000 Division I players to begin with, and everybody's going to level down. So where that advice I couldn't agree with more is true, now it's almost by default. And a part of that is I had this conversation with Sean McDermott, at UIC about 5-6 years ago. Our 2014 class, we had 4 all-state shortstops, based on the different levels. We had just a really talented class, but only a couple guys went to high-profile schools. The kid that I still consider the best all-around baseball player I've ever coached, and I'll say his name, Brian Van Duzer. He was a little 5'8", could play anywhere on the field, played mostly second and third at his high school, didn't even play shortstop, but would come in and be upper 80s with a hammer, and close out ball games. He went to a Division III school, went to Concordia University of Chicago, and ended up being a Division III All-American and played in Division III College World Series. So I told Sean, I'm like, I don't know, why are my guys not getting these high-profile looks? He's like, let me get this straight. He's like, you're upset because you're putting them in the right place where they're going to have the most success. And I'm like, well, if you put it that way, I feel a little bit better, because it is true. We see countless guys that go to, big schools down south or wherever, and they're 4.24 bounce backs, right? They go there, they realize they're not going to see the field. They realize there's a slew of JUCO guys coming in behind them. So you're exactly right, and Cade's exactly right. Find the place that's going to fit you and get you on the field, and find the place that you're truly wanted, not the place where you have to force the hand, because it'll just be a lot better experience overall. So it's a great teaching point there.
Yeah, I love how you expanded on that. And then also, touched on the 4.24 bounce backs. I mean, it happens every year. You see it, players jumping back down into the JC level because of, in my opinion, kind of poor decision making and jumping the gun, because you wanted that big school T-shirt to wear when there were maybe a lot of other schools you can go play and have fun, at. So, well, Nelson, I know you got some work going on at your house, and you got your kids, and I really appreciate your time, and I'd love to have you back on. And apologize, Mike hasn't been with us today.
All
'Cause I
good.
know he had a ton of questions for you, but yeah, I'd love to have you back on and be our recruiting advisor to this, and we'll try to get some questions from some of our audience next time, maybe some players that are in the field, and just have some questions. And then what's the best way for someone to learn more about NCSA?
Yeah, if you want to learn more about NCSA, our website is the best place. So ncsasports.org. You can also, and this will streamline it a little bit, if you just text the word recruit to 797979, I'll get notified of that immediately, and I'll make sure that gets in the right hands depending on, the sport, the grad year, what you guys are looking for. So that's also a really easy route, and that goes directly to me.
All right, and I'll flash that up on the screen right now. So
that works.
And then also with how to, in terms of learning more about you and your college program, any info you want to spread there?
Yeah, if you go to Harper Hawks, I think it's, now I'm curious, is it harperhawks.net? I think it is actually.
On the moment, right now.
Yeah, harperhawks.net.
Okay.
That's our athletic website, and actually, wow, I typed that in, my face popped up because the announcement's up. But yeah, that's the best place. There's a recruiting questionnaire on there. My contact information should be on there. So if you're an interested recruit or a parent that has more questions, feel free to reach out.
Yeah, great. I'll put that up too. But again, really appreciate your time, and it's been fun getting to know you, and we've just had some good conversations. So look forward to the next time we can do this.
Absolutely, Todd. I appreciate it, and happy birthday to your daughter. So have a great day.
Thanks, Nelson.
Oh, just hit one out.